Breaking into Investment Banking, the Warren Fox Group. Course breakdown. Class 1, Introduction. Class 2, Networking. And Class 3, Interviewing. During Class 3, the Warren Fox Group will cover the below topics on interviewing: the basics of interviewing, behavioral questions, technical questions, and case study exercises. Basics of interviewing. This is lesson 1 of class 3. In this lesson, we will provide an overview of investment banking interviewing and discuss what to expect during the interview process, the different types of interviews, and the best practices for each type of interview. Introduction. The Warren Fox Group would like to begin by stating that it is an accomplishment within itself just to be awarded an interview in investment banking. Candidates who obtain an interview likely have done hundreds of hours of networking, in addition to having pristine academic records and successful extracurricular activities. Investment banking positions have hundreds, if not thousands, of applicants. The bank has the responsibility of selecting the best fit applicant to join the firm. Not every candidate is a fit for every role. To support candidates, the Warren Fox Group has developed some guidelines and best practices to follow while going through the interview process. And remember, investment banking interviews are stressful. They are meant to be stressful. Some of the best advice for candidates is to always stay true to themselves and to be confident and honest in every response, even if you don't know the answer to the question. Overview of the interview process. Each bank has its own process, and the process varies based on bank size, team, coverage, and the seniority level of the position you're applying for. The process can range anywhere from 3 to 4 interviews to 9 to 10 interviews. The process typically involves screening interviews, deal team interviews, and case study exercises. Below is a breakdown of each type of interview. Screening interviews. The screening process consists of introductory conversations that ensure the candidate is qualified from both an administrational and cultural fit. Deal team interviews. Interviews conducted by deal team members, which explore both behavioral and technical questions. Case studies. Exercises that assess the candidate's ability to evaluate a scenario and to create a work deliverable. Screening interviews. Background. Usually consist of 1 or 2 conversations that identify a candidate's fit from a cultural and administrative perspective, while also communicating baseline details about the role. The interview will likely confirm such things as, does the candidate have license X, degree Y, and the capacity to be in the office Z number of days. Participants. The screening process is typically handled by a non-deal team member, such as an HR professional. The screening interviews are typically one-on-one. Structure. Length. Screening interviews typically last from 30 minutes to an hour. Questions to expect. The candidate will likely be asked to run through his or her resume. The candidate will likely be asked some basic interview questions around past experiences, educational background, and gaps in resume, if any. What to expect from the interviewer. An overview of the position, roles and responsibilities, bank culture, logistics, and the necessary professional licenses to perform the role. Screening interviews, concluding remarks. The interviewer's goal. The interviewer is trying to assess whether or not any gating items exist that would preclude the candidate from moving forward. Typically, if there are no gating items, then the next steps would be to set up deal team interviews. The candidate's goal. Efficiently and effectively communicate past experiences to the interviewer, tailored directly to the job description. Ensure the interviewer has enough evidence to defend your candidacy and to suggest a path forward to the deal team. For example, I think John Doe is a viable candidate for an analyst position because he has internship experience at Bank X, a business degree from School Y, and has already passed the SIE exam. Remember, depending on size of the bank, the screening process can be satisfied by informational interviews during the networking process, pushing the candidate directly into deal team interviews. Deal team interviews. Background. During the interview process, the candidate will meet a majority of the deal team members, which allows each team member to put forth an opinion on the candidate. The interviews will consist of behavioral and technical questions. Some banks might designate certain interviews as purely behavioral and others as purely technical. The candidate should expect at least one interview distinguished specifically as a technical interview. Participants. Most of the deal team interviews are one-on-one, but there could be cases where multiple team members sit in on an interview. As mentioned above, the candidate will likely have a chance to meet the entire deal team. Therefore, the interviewers will range across all seniority levels. Structure. Let's break down interview structure between behavioral interviews and technical interviews on the next slides. Behavioral interviews. Basics of behavioral interviews. Length. Behavioral interviews can range anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half. Questions to expect. General behavioral interviews are almost always the same for each interview. They are the same questions asked in different ways. The most important questions will be: walk me through your resume. Why do you want to work in investment banking? Why do you want to work for Bank X? Interviewer is trying to assess relevant past experiences while in parallel trying to determine if there's a cultural fit. What to expect from the interviewer? Unlike the screening process, the deal team interviewers are less interested in resume gaps or logistical hurdles. Deal team members are more interested in specific past experiences that relate to the day-to-day responsibilities of the job and the candidate's story, reasons for wanting to enter the industry, and work for Bank X. Technical interviews. Basics of technical interviews. Length. They are variable. They depend on the candidate's ability to correctly answer basic technical questions. Some interviews last 10 to 15 minutes, while others can last an hour or an hour and a half. Questions to expect. The candidate needs to be prepared to answer the basic 3 technical interview investment banking questions. Walk me through a DCF. What are the different types of valuation analysis? How are the 3 financial statements linked? Free resource. The Warren Fox Group provides in-depth answers to these questions and makes them accessible on www.thewarrenfoxgroup.org. What to expect from the interviewer? The interviewer is going to start with the basic 3 questions listed above. The interviewer will continue to increase the difficulty and the granularity of the questions based on the candidate's ability to answer each question correctly. Deal team interviews. Goals. Interviewer's goals. Background. The deal team members are trying to assess whether or not the candidate has the prerequisites and the skill set to be a successful member of the team, while also trying to assess a character fit. The interviewers will be the candidate's future coworkers. Therefore, the interviewers are looking for a few key items, such as honesty. Deal team members need to trust their teammates, and candidates who misrepresent themselves or their credentials are likely people who cannot be trusted. Also, candidates should never make up answers. If they truly do not know the answer, be honest and transparent. No one knows all the answers, and people who aren't honest about their shortcomings create greater consequences for the wider team down the road. Humility. A candidate's humility goes a long way. Deal team members work on teams, and they work long hours. Deal team members have no capacity to manage arrogant or boastful teammates. Technical skills. Deal team members are looking for proficiency on basic technical questions and the ability to problem solve in real time. And good intentions. Deal team members are looking for candidates who have strong reasons for wanting to be an investment banker. Candidates with weak reasoning or superficial motives are team members who will likely churn early on in their careers. Deal team interviews. Goals. Continued. The candidate's goals. Background. The goal for the candidate is to be confident, prepared, and charismatic. The candidate needs to show situational awareness. The candidate needs to understand that all applicants who receive interviews are high performers. Therefore, it is the rule, not the exception, that the candidate accurately answers all basic technical questions. But the goal of the interview is to balance technical knowledge with an agreeable personality. Further comments. In essence, all investment banking applicants are high performers, but sometimes high performers do not mesh well with one another. Therefore, from the bank's perspective, the question becomes, how can the bank ensure that it creates the most efficient team of high performers that all work well with one another? To answer this question is usually humility. The bank needs to pick a high performer who has the situational awareness to know their position on the team. In other words, Not everyone can play quarterback. Case study exercises. Background. A case study exercise tests the candidate's ability to evaluate a scenario and to create a work deliverable. Participants. Most case studies are machine-facing, meaning that the candidate interfaces with a computer to produce the deliverable. After the reviewer has an opportunity to evaluate the work product, the candidate will likely have a chance to present his or her position to the deal team members. Structure. In-person case studies. Sometimes candidates are asked to attend an in-person super day, in which a portion of the day is allocated to a case study, maybe an hour or two. Remote case studies. Short duration remote case studies. These are prompts that are completed within one business day from start to finish, and they typically range anywhere from 1 to 3 hours in length. These tend to be Excel heavy and modeling focused. Long duration remote case studies. These are prompts that are completed over a span of a few business days and typically require a presentational level to support the financial analysis. Case studies. Concluding remarks. The interviewer's goal. The case study is meant to help the interviewer assess the candidate's ability to efficiently model cash flows and efficiently operate computer functions for business purposes, such as Excel and PowerPoint. The candidate's goal. Treat the case study exercise as a work deliverable and exhibit situational awareness. In other words, understand the constraints and then find a way to efficiently accomplish the deliverable. The candidate's goal is to showcase how well he or she can aptly follow directions and how well the candidate performs under stress, how well the candidate handles time management, how well the candidate can analyze raw business data and historical financials, and how well the candidate can translate the business into a financial model. And finally, how well the candidate can present his or her findings. Thank you for tuning into this lesson, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one, which we will cover behavioral questions.